everyone. I'm not grating cheese today, but I am grating a soap that looks like cheese. I am grating this to go in a clay confetti soap, and this one just happened to look a little bit like cheese. But I'm going to use one of each of the bars I've made in my Clays in Melt and Pour Soap series, and they are going to combine to make a gorgeous, gorgeous soap. I'm also going to include more clay in the base that I put the confetti in, and we'll talk more about that when we get there. But I'm starting off by grating up my bars of soap. All I'm doing is I took one of each of the bars that I made. I made more bars than I needed, and I did that on purpose because I wanted to make this soap. You can use uh, little leftover strands from when you bevel your soaps, if you bevel your soaps. And I have made several confetti soaps that way. You can also melt certain colors of soap or use certain colors and make a soap specifically to grade up, because sometimes when you're making a confetti soap you have a design in mind, and it don't consider it waste, but consider it making an embed, because that is what you're doing. You're making a lot of little embeds. So that's what I'm doing here. You may wonder what I'm using. I am using a larger hole type of grater, and this is actually a vegetable grater. Um, you're not likely to find it now. It is a discontinued item from Pampered Chef. I am not a sales rep, distributor, or anything like that in Pampered Chef, but I do have one of these. I actually found the second one. Um, either I Googled it, and I either found one, it wasn't on eBay, might have been on Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace. Anyway, I found another one and bought it, and it was brand new in the box and everything. And so I have two now. And no, you can't have one. um, but what you can do if you can't find something like this or similar to it, is to get one of those box graters that have the four sides and use the large whole side. One of the reasons I really like this one is because it is double. You can go both ways. So you see, I'm scratching it back and forth. Not all cheese graters can do that. They are usually one direction. So, um, even though it's plastic, I have to be extremely careful because it's still sharp, and you can definitely still cut yourself on this. I have in the past. So don't go as fast as I'm going here. This is drastically sped up in places. I started off slower and kept speeding it up because I know you didn't want to watch me grate soap for 2 hours. Not that it took that long. It really didn't. But I know you didn't, there's a time limit to how long that's interesting. So, I'm grading up, 4 no, 5 bars of soap is what I'm grading up. You saw the types of clays I used. Later, I will touch on the essential oils that I used. You are welcome I'd rather you finish this video first, but you're also welcome to go in, in the, list I have, the series I have, and watch all of these being made. They're each individual videos, and that way you can see exactly what I put in them and what I did. I am spritzing them with alcohol now as I stir. Um, if you have an embed that isn't painted with mica, if you paint with mica and alcohol, or dry mica or anything, you don't want to spritz your embeds. These obviously are not painted, and that would be kind of crazy if they were. But you can spray them with alcohol. It helps them to set in there a little bit better and not come out of your soap. Although I really have never had an incidence with shredded soap separating from the soap. It's going to stick. It's going to stick just fine. Even though I pour it at a very, very, very low temperature because I did not want to melt them. But I'm not having to worry about them adhering together. It's going to be fine. Um, what I do also like to spritz them just because it helps them to not stick together as I'm stirring them. It kind of helps them separate out a little bit. And while I'm preparing the soap, it helps to prevent any kind of glycerin dew if it were to be a really humid day, which it was not when I was doing this, but I just did it anyway. And that's drying while I'm getting ready to melt my soap base. I'm using, as you see up on the screen, hopefully, um, only 10 ounces of detergent free goat milk base. All of these, I think you may have read, are detergent free bases. And I'm going to combine here. And this is a question people ask me many times. And I've seen them ask other soapers too. I've seen this question thrown around a lot in the soap groups. You can combine bases, particularly if you stick with the same brand. Um, yeah, that's the best option if you're going to blend. Make sure you're blending the same brand. It doesn't have to be the same type, but the same brand. So these are detergent free, and one is detergent free clear, the other is detergent free goat milk from Crafter's Choice at Wholesale Supplies Plus. You might be thinking that isn't really clear. Well, it is. It was. It's an older soap. It traveled all the way from Florida to Iowa in a really hot trailer. It has definitely seen its days, but boy, it's still soap and it still works and it does not smell and it just isn't super clear. So I don't use it for clear. I use it for things that I'm going to add clay to. And or mica, you can definitely it's still usable soap and I've used several bars from making from these batches I had. They were a batch I bought in a huge amount of detergent free clear soap because I was doing a wholesale type of order and that ended up I ended up not doing as much with that as I thought. It was just too much for me for one person. So I ended up stepping out of that one. And so I still had a lot of detergent free base and it since I mostly do art soaps um and really get into the crystal clear, I kind of let it sit there for a while. But it is wonderful soap. And like I said, the oils aren't going to go rancid on you because they are soap now. They're saponified. So don't worry about that. Um, just, keep an eye on the look of it. And like I said, it still makes a really good clay soap. So, speaking of the clay, I used alcohol this time. I did that at the suggestion of, well, it was a question really. One of my followers, Kelly. Hi, Kelly. Thank you for your suggestion or for your question about it. I know I've mixed it in the past and I didn't like it and I didn't remember why. So I thought I'd try again because she asked, can you dissolve your clays in alcohol rather than glycerin? Because I've been using glycerin for the most part in these. May have seen that the last one I did, I tried water and did not like that result at all and ended up just using it as a face mask because nothing goes to waste. Um, but so I used the alcohol. It stirred in okay. It was kind of lumpy um, but it eventually, with a lot of effort, stirred in and made a really kind of cool texture. It might not, well, no, you probably wouldn't want to put that on your face with the alcohol. But anyway, it stirred in quite uh, with a lot of effort. It stirred in and made a good kind of slurry. But it took a lot of alcohol, first of all, a lot of alcohol to get it to go because clay is very absorbent. If I'm hoping I already told you, I am using white kaolin clay. I got this particular one at Wholesale Supplies Plus. To remind you again, I am not sponsored by them and I'm not an affiliate, but I do buy a lot of their stuff because I like it. The Once I poured the soap in, and that's usually the point where it starts really doing well with stirring in. You just add a tiny bit of soap and continue going with that slurry and get out any extra lumps. It would not get out those extra lumps. It was tough. It stirred in, it made soap. And I'm not displeased with the soap at all. But if you're trying to avoid little specks and things at the bottom of your soap, my suggestion is use glycerin. That's just mine. And you still might end up with lumps at the bottom of the soap because clays are hard to stir in. Um, I keep having to remind myself too. There's a thing I saw at a cold processed soap or do, and I keep wanting to try it, and I keep forgetting to get the materials I need to try it. but as soon as I do, I will film it and show you. Because it's not just good for stirring in clays, it's also good for stirring pigments and really getting the lumps out. So I'm going to play with that some point down the road. I'm not going to do it right away because I'm going to give clays after next week. I have one more clay soap next week that is kind of related to this one. And you will I think you'll like it. It's going to be a fairly short video because it was pretty darn simple. It kind of falls on the tail coats of this one. And um I uh I want to give it a little after that one. I want to give clay soaps a little bit of a rest. I'll still be making them, but I probably won't be filming them um because I need to get back to some other types of soap. Just for my own sanity, I need to do something clear and pretty. So, you see all the writing. I'm hopefully putting up all the details you need for things like this. Um, like I used for the fragrance oil, I was using essential oil in all of these. This is for a series of soaps I'm doing for a certain project, and I wanted them all to be detergent free and natural colorants, which is why I used clays, and natural type fragrances, which is why I used essential oils. I used them sparingly because you should, especially with with essential oils. You would just want to be cautious, keeping in mind that clay will help anchor that fragrance. So that essential oil and your fragrance too. But if you use essential oils, you still want to use one that isn't as volatile as some can be. So you want to stick to ones um, that are known to stay well in melt and pour soaps. All you have to do is Google that. You're going to find a list of them, pretty decent ones. So there's that. Or you can take a clue from some of the ones that I used. Um, One that really stands out to me is with some terrific staying power is geranium. I know patchouli can. I did not use patchouli in this. I won't go through an exhaustive list, but it can help use up some time while I am stirring endlessly this soap. So not only am I stirring to incorporate the lavender essential oil I added, which keeping in mind, essential oil is sometimes, and I would say not all times, but many times, it's lighter than some of your fragrance oils. Some of your fragrance oils are lighter too and may float on the top. And if you find that's true, you've got to go kind of around the edges as you're stirring. You don't just want to stir like it's sunk to the bottom because some will and some won't. But you want to keep it off of the edges and keep incorporating it so that it's not just coating your spout or something, and then you go to pour and it's not incorporated. So I really stirred a long time with that. But at the same time, that's why I added it when I did. I was trying to stir a really long time to get the clay lumps out as much as I could. I don't know if you could tell it, but at times I was kind of mushing along the bottom and the sides because I was hoping to get a lot mushed and stirred in and incorporated. Um, it again, it won't hurt anything. I've said this before in the lather test of the previous soaps that you see shredded right there. Oh, that's another thing you can do if you find a little like veggie shredding shooter, like a salad shooter or whatever they call those. You can do that. Don't pick. Thoroughly clean it if you find one that was used. I don't know if I would want to do that, but you don't want to go back and forth with food and soap, so please don't do that. That's a bad idea in many, many ways. So I've got it all set to pour now. But as I said, the chunks that you see, I'm hoping you'll see it when I unmold, because you really can't see them that well right now. But I have a kitty in my lap. Um, the kitty doesn't go where I make the soap, but he does go where I record my voiceover. So if you hear a little meow, it's just Kimchi saying hi. Want to say hi? He's sniffing the microphone, but he doesn't want to say hi. Um, I really liked the way the color of this came out. I know the detergent-free soap was a little yellowed, um, and with that kaolin clay, it made it kind of like a mild butterscotch kind of color or a really pale yellow. It's a little paler than it looks on here, at least on my computer while I'm recording. It's kind of a creamy white ish. Off-white might be better to say. It's beautiful. You can't go there, buddy. Sorry, he's trying to climb up on the computer while I'm recording. That's not real good. So spritzing out bubbles. I poured about half or filled the soap loaf about half. This is a larger soap mold than I usually use. I've used it once before, and I can't think of which soap it was, but it was fairly recent. So if you go back, you will see it's the same width as those shorter purple ones that I use. And instead of 6 bars, I get, well, I thought I was going to get 8, but I got 7.5. You might get 8 if if you if you just do an inch width of a bar. I do a little over that. That's where my marking is. So you see that I put in filled it halfway, put in a bunch of shreds, just kind of made sure they got to the corners and that they weren't sticking together. I wasn't stirring. I was just kind of, separating them a little bit. And then I put more soap on top. I didn't pour until that soap was 115. That's very low. That's not going to work if you're doing um, premium crystal clear. And yes, you can put shreds in premium crystal clear. I have done a soap like that. I think I have a video of that. But you when you go to pour over the top, just make sure that if you have to reheat it for some reason, don't reheat it very much, like 10 seconds. But this soap stays, as you know, detergent-free soaps with titanium dioxide, which the goat's milk soap had in it, and soaps with clay are all going to stay liquid a lot longer than most other types of soap. So I had a lot of working time and I knew that and I wasn't worried about it. That's why I took the temperature down to 115. And then I just sprinkled the last few on top for decoration. You don't have to do that. Um, One of the things I would have done is add a couple of more ounces, maybe 3 more ounces or so, 2 to 3 more, because it didn't quite get to the top. And I'm kind of a stickler with wanting mine to go right to the top. So I've been known to let it go over the edge just to make sure it gets all the way to the top. But that little knife that I had, and I was just kind of scoring that top where I had stirred it a little bit. Some of the soap went up the edge a little bit, and that sealed it really well to the mold. And I didn't even need to cut through the whole thing. I just popped part of it with that knife, and the rest of it came loose. And then, of course, if you spritz with alcohol, it makes it much easier for the whole loaf to come out. I was able to let it sit a lot longer this time than what I've been doing for my clay soaps, and came out just beautiful and fine, perfectly set up. There was no issue at all with it being gelatinous like my Velveeta soap, or there was no question that when I cut this, it was going to be really solid. And I'm going to try to do that from now on. I'm trying to uh, adjust my schedule a little bit to make things easier on myself. And that's the theme of this year, trying to make things a little easier on myself. I don't know why. I do know why the lighting is so weird, but I'll just apologize for it rather than explain it. It's just a little weird on this one, but I think you can see get the basic gist of it, and then of course I will pull them up closer to the screen when it gets. And I don't have no idea why it went pink, but it did on mine. I don't know if you can see it or not. Um, no clue, because it goes away too. Anyway, um, you will see me hold them up after I cut them in half, because this whole series long I've been making my regular kind of big chunky slices and then cutting them in half. It is a really nice little size for the project I'm doing. It works perfectly. I also um, I also end up with about a half slice, and because 7.5 bars instead of 8, because of my measurements, I like them a little bigger than 1 inch. So that half slice is like the ones I did in the Brazilian soap, Brazilian clay soap video. I've got a spa party coming up where we're going to do some facials and have some fun. And those in attendance will be getting a little cute little gift bag. It's really a gift bag, grab bag, I don't know. But each one is going to have a little sample soap in it. And so 2 lucky participants will have one of these. um, just they're fun. I like them. That's one of the things about confetti soaps is they're just fun. They look like a little party in a bar of soap. And I like the way these colors came out. Obviously, I was going for, this is a clay soap, so I was going for the clay colors and working toward having no artificial colorants, nothing but natural colorants. And they kind of reminded me of a couple of different things. Some of the bars, especially the whole ones before I cut them, remind me a little bit of a koi pond. Obviously, koi aren't swimming around in yellowish water, but the shapes um, of the shavings and some of the colors, like the dark grayish blue and the orange. Well, it looks orange here. It's really pink, so I guess really not. It's a little more, but it's kind of a salmony pink. It's not a hot pink or anything. Um, and they have little stripes on them because they were a swirl. Hey, if you haven't tried cutting up a swirl soap, whether you think it's a fail soap or not, if you haven't tried that for either for shredding it up to make a confetti soap or or like little crystals like next week's task, which is a terrazzo soap, you are missing out because you can get some really super cool looks. Um, it's I'll even give you a little secret of one I did one time that was kind of fun, and maybe we'll do that again sometime. I made some soaps that were confetti, and I didn't. The importance of confetti soaps, or one of the things that shows them off, is you have to cut. You have to cut it open to see them. If you saw the ones, the back, I showed you the back of the first one. I'll show you the back of the 2 samples. They're very boring. I mean, you can kind of see it in there, but it's not pretty to me. Um, but if you put them in a soap that you're not going to cut, like an oval or a rock shape or something like that, and then shred it again. Like, put a lot of shreds in and then shred it again. Those shreds are very cool. Someday I'll have to show you. It's weird, but it's really neat looking, and they didn't fall apart. If you work your temperatures right and spritz a little bit before they're there. See the back? It's not very interesting to me, but those are my little sample bars. The fronts are gorgeous, and these are so much fun. Anyway, they're fun to do. I don't know why shredding soap is cathartic, but for some reason it is. And if you have not tried a confetti soap, I'm telling you this is one of the easiest soaps around to make, especially like in a loaf. It's just pretty easy. Um, Shred more than you think you need. I didn't think I would be able to use all of the ones that I made, but I did. So there's that. Um, the a quick note also is oh gosh. Oh, use up old soaps you don't like. If you don't like it, even fragrance, you can add a fragrance that might boost it or, help it along, maybe have a better fragrance as long as it blends with it. Make sure your fragrance blends and make sure, don't overheat your base. You want to go in kind of cool, but not gloopy. You don't want gloopy like when you're doing swirls. Swirls, you want to let it cool and let it get gloopy, and you're going to get better swirls, but not with these. You want it still fluid. Um, and in let's say if you were using a crystal clear, I wouldn't take it down anywhere near as low as I did for this. Maybe 120. I don't know. It's been a while since I did one with clear, but when you cut these open, they are just spectacular, and it is a great way to use up soaps, even soaps that have a picture or have embeds or what. Just try it. Just see what happens. You'll know when you start shredding it what it looks like shredded up. And if you're going to do more than one, shred them in different piles so you can see, will that look pretty together or not? If you're going to use 2 different kinds of soap. Anyway, so these are my little kind of banner picture things I like to do at the end. Hold up a few so I can grab a picture and show them off a little bit together because I think they look really cool like that. They, of course, will be fabulous lather and really feel good on your hands and your skin because of those clays. They clean marvelously. That's all I can tell you. Um, that they're very cleansing. Clay is a spectacular cleanser all on its own, even without the soap. So, if you've been here for this whole time, I thank you so, so much. Stay tuned for the Terrazzo soap next week. Thanks. Bye.